I don't think until I'm ever probably out of this job, I'll ever realise the magnitude and how quickly we've done things. It's the one moment in football I've taken a space and a time to just be part of the moment. And that's what I'll always remember. I think people really jump on board with that and makes them feel like they can float on air. And I think Sir Alex was a true master of that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside Carrington. I'm Helen Evans, joined as always by Liam Bradford, and we should address the gap in the middle. I was sitting a little bit closer to you, Liam, but I got asked to move closer.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was
I just thought we were
intentional.
giving the cushion a starring role on this week's podcast.
We're not waiting for another guest in here. We do have a very special one on the other sofa, which we will reveal in just a couple of minutes. But how are you, Liam?
Yeah, really good. Had a lovely weekend.
Good.
So, yeah, it was good. You have a good weekend?
Yes, I did. Just busy with kids' activities and the usual. What about you?
Under 18s on Saturday, and they are absolutely flying at the minute. So that's been really fun to watch. And then on Sunday, it was my nephew's 5th birthday party. So we went full uncle mode. I've spoken about Hugo before. He's autistic, and it's taken forever for me to gain any kind of relationship with him. And now he's my little bestie. So essentially I spent 4 or 5 hours on Sunday wrestling him around, throwing him around on the bouncy castle. And then, we had a really lovely day. It was absolutely magnificent. And I think my sister and her partner did a brilliant job in sort of bringing everybody together. So it was lovely and nice to spend some time with him.
Very wholesome. I love that. Happy birthday to Hugo as well. So you've had a busy weekend. I've had a busy weekend. But this weekend is going to be busier and better. Tell us why, Liam.
Oh, there's so much going on this weekend. So we've got both the men's first team and the women's first team in action on Sunday. The men's first team will park for 1 minute. The important bit here is that the women's first team are in their first ever League Cup final. So off to Bristol they go, and it's the old opposition Chelsea, the old foe, and just desperate for them to get over the line and get them beaten and lift that trophy would be brilliant.
It will be, and it is such a special game, which is why we are bringing you an extra special guest on Inside Carrington today. Please welcome Marc Skinner.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be outdone by a pillow.
Yeah, I know.
I like it.
We were going to put you in the middle, but we thought that would be a bit weird.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, you're right. Good to see you both.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're
As
welcome.
Liam said, it is a very busy week for you, and I suppose that's the best place to start. How much are you looking forward to the occasion?
Well, it's one of those that preparing for a final is totally different to any prep week anyway. But I suppose you try and get everything right as there's a hyper focus on every little bit of detail going into this weekend. But more importantly, I think we've had a couple of weeks as a collective, the staff have had a little bit of a refresh. So I think you come in with a better perspective and a clarity. And I think there's a lot of information at football, so you can kind of sift through that and try and get to what's really important, which first and foremost is people, them living their lives. A wonderful story about Hugo. So even that, you with the kids on the weekend, it's really, really important that those are the things we do this part for, because then you can give absolutely everything when you go into games like this.
We'll talk more about the game a little bit later on in a little bit more depth, but does it make it a little bit trickier when you're coming off the back of an international break as well? You haven't necessarily had the players in, and there's no consistency of time on the training pitch together.
Absolutely, but it's been a challenge we've had all year because of the Champions League. So we have the players in for 4 sessions this week, but today's it's almost a write-off because they're all coming back from different flights. Some got in this morning, some got in late last night. So it's a really hard challenge. But more important, I think, is getting them in together, just to remind them who we are, what we do. You'd be surprised at how they get engrossed in their cultures, in their team cultures, and how you have to just have a quick reset. So that's really important going into this week.
And you mentioned there that you and your staff have been able to have a little reset. How do you relax on those occasions? I know you've got 2 young children, so I suppose there's not much relaxing.
I think it's more important. I think my partner relaxes.
Yeah.
She gets a little bit of space to be human again. I honestly, genuinely, Got woke up this morning at 6:30 with the kids reading Peppa Pig books to me.
Relatable.
And the 2-year-old can't read, so she just mumbles at me. So I think that keeps you grounded. It keeps you focused on just what's the family part. And I think we've been out. We did a couple of things. We went to Chester Zoo, which was nice. We've taken them out to do. We made a pizza yesterday from scratch. So just
Did you make your own dough?
I'm going to say I cheated on that. I have done before, but yesterday
That's
I just
hard
got them
work.
to do the toppings.
Yeah.
And we did the sauce. We made the sauce and stuff like that. So we didn't just get it out of a tin.
Yeah.
So we made that part, and I must
Sorry,
say
I didn't
they
mean
did
to
a
call
good
you
job.
out there because you didn't make your own dough.
No, I mean that's a bit
Launched him under the bus.
It's just because
Yeah,
if I
thanks.
was to make a pizza, I would never make the dough because that's the hard bit.
It actually,
But it's
I've
still-
done it before.
Yeah.
I've done it before. Jamie Oliver had a good recipe, so I did that one. But it's a bit more difficult getting to knead the dough.
A 2-year-old.
A
And how
2-year-old.
old's your other daughter?
7. She's 7. So, and she acts like a 20-year-old. So we've already got that dynamic. But that's how I switch off is with them. And honestly, just spending time to reconnect with Laura, I think it's really important because they're the biggest parts of my life, and we have work and we have home life, and I think I have to strike that balance. I've got better at doing that as I've got a little bit older.
And obviously, when you go home, if you've lost, if you've won, your children, you're the dad at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you've won or lost, they're still happy. Maybe your 7-year-old is a little bit more affected by the wins and losses now. They start to notice those things a little bit more. But do you find that since having children has changed that for you?
100%. I am. Look, I don't think you ever let go of a loss, or I mean, the thing in football, wins, they don't really teach you much. You have to look deep in a win to find the kind of learning matters, because you move so quickly. A loss stays with you because it's an emotional hit. But my children and my home life they're the balance. They're the yin to my yang, and I think from my perspective, I look at that as, it feels selfish, and it was really hard when I was a younger manager to do that.
Yeah.
But I think I feel it as much as our fans, I really do. And of course, more sometimes. But I think you can't lead with emotion all the time. You have to have clarity. I think switching off is the biggest key to being able to do that. I'm going to manage a lot of people. Sometimes management is about, you're like a conductor in an orchestra, and you have to know when to dial tones up, when tones down, when to introduce, when to pull away. And I think that balance in my home life gives me that. And I've got better at doing it.
Inside Carrington is brought to you by United Store. From the latest product ranges to gifts for the whole family, you can find it all at United Store.
I wonder whether I could just switch you back to work mode.
Let's go.
I'm going to read this list to you because over the last 3 years, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, hasn't it? Manchester United's highest ever WSL finish, Champions League qualification, group phase for the first time, knockout phase for the first time, first major piece of silverware in the FA Cup, 100 games in charge, signed a new contract. Bit of a whirlwind, Mark.
It's almost like 3 lifetimes, right?
Yeah.
It's it's huge. I honestly, I don't think until I'm ever probably out of this job, I'll ever realise the magnitude and how quickly we've done things. You're not allowed especially in English culture, you're not allowed to take praise heavily and really enjoy it. I think I don't do that well. I think it's something I've never done well, because I think it softens you, and I don't think in this job you can afford to be soft. You can be soft with the players and the way that you approach them, but you can't be soft on yourself and your expectations. But when people read that, it actually gets really uncomfortable for me, because it's a lot of firsts for our club, and I know our human memories, we move quickly, so we actually forget those milestones. And when you hear them read out in a format like that, we've done a great job. I genuinely mean, not me. It's a whole collective. It's the fan base. It's the club. We've done a great job to do that in such a short period of time.
I agree.
Yeah, and I suppose we will go back to that first trophy, the FA Cup that Liam is referring to. A bit of a mixed season that season, but picking up that first trophy, what was that like for you?
Look, I think the reason, stepping back, the reason for the mixed season was because of that. We had the squad size we had at that time, we had to prioritise, getting to that final and trying to get that, because I always felt that we needed a win in a big trophy moment to give us that experience of a young group. So we prioritised. I didn't like where we finished in the league at that point, but I suppose the sacrifice was that we then gained that experience. Look, I thought we were incredible that day, and even at 4-0 with about 3 minutes to go, I'm still on the edge, because you want to get over the edge, you want to get over the line for that win, and we've done that. And look, I think we need to do it again. To be honest, like, we've got new players, we've grown so much, but I think we're hungry for that, and I know our fans are. So we've got to do everything we can on Sunday to make sure that's the reality. Not taking it lightly. It's a huge game, and the difference with this one, which is different, and we have to address it, is 3 days later we got West Ham, and then 2 days after that we got Everton. So we do have to go all out in this game and then see where we're at. But it's a slightly different challenge.
I wonder whether there was a moment in that game where you thought, yeah, we've got ourselves over the line here, or whether, like you say, you were on edge until the 90th minute.
It was actually, I think, about 3 seconds before they blew the final whistle. It was that close. We had Carl, my assistant, who's been with me all the way from Birmingham all the way through to obviously now. He actually came out. I said the story. He comes up into my ear, and I'm sat at the front talking to the players, and he starts chirping down me. I'm thinking, go away, I'm in the zone, leave me alone. And he goes, I just recognised we've won the game, enjoy the moment, because I'd been there against Chelsea the year before, and probably 3-4 years before that with Birmingham, and lost those finals. And he said, just take a moment to take it in. And as a wonderful photo, I think our team took it, and I'm just resting on the hoardings, just watching the environment around me. And it was the one moment in football I've taken a space and a time to just be part of the moment. And that's what I'll always remember, that the lifting of the trophy, the fans behind the goal, the girls celebrating. I actually missed the celebrations because I had to go on BBC and do an interview.
Media,
huh? But like Rachel Williams, I remember being covered in the foil or whatever they had at the time. And those, I think, those are memories that last with them forever, and the fans. So we want to do that again. Like, we're desperate to do that again, and we've got to show that in our performances.
And as you said, there is a psychology. You've won a trophy. Girls, some of them have obviously won them internationally. And as a manager, is there a psychology behind that as well? Like, I know how to do this. I know how to win a final. Honestly,
there really is. Unfortunately, finals they tend not to be open events, open affairs. They tend to be quite cautious, quite cagey, because nobody wants to lose it straight away. So there's a moment and beauty in that. You have to control the pitch, control the space, control the time, and especially try and control the opponent as much as you can. The cliche is you don't win a game in the first half, but you can lose it. So I think you have to be prepared to be able to manage those challenges. I think I've learned that. I've learned a lot in my management time. You talk about, and it's really important, Helen, we talk about it, people, because we can't yet measure psychology in action, in performance. There are indicators, there are obviously physical metrics, but we can measure how far we run. We can measure how many box entries we have. What you can't measure is the momentum swing and how your team take their opponent in that moment. And if I could replicate that, which is something I would love to aspire to before I finish my career, to pass on to the next generation, that would be a real thing for me, because I think the fluctuation psychology in the game is the biggest thing. There's no doubt. Why does a player miss one and score one in different moments? That for me is it's something I've always been interested in. And as I move further through my career, everyone talks about tactical innovation and stuff. It's all been done before. It will all be done again, in different players doing the same thing, which gives it a different look. But unlocking a person's psychology is a real deep passion of mine, and something is vital in my job, I think.
They say that Sir Alex was the best psychologist, don't they?
I mean, you pick up little moments, and what I think we don't even really appreciate about Sir Alex, because we weren't in the moment with him, was that he would have chosen when to put those words into people's brains, when to pull off. He'll have thought more about when not to do it than when to do it.
Yeah.
And I think, like, we can't measure how genius that was. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times, and just his insights. But you know what I think more importantly players can read off a coach is their energy. They can read, it's not words you say necessarily, it's how you say them and how much you believe in them. And I've done it before where previous times I've not believed in what I've said. And I think people can see through it. Whereas if you are alive and in tune in the moment, I think people really jump on board with that and makes them feel like they can float on air. And I think Sir Alex was a true master of that. And, you know, I love talking about Sir Alex's psychology because I think it's a great case study for any aspiring coach.
And as a manager, do you think arguably it's bigger to master the psychology of your players and your team than it is the tactics?
Honestly, I can't. I'd love to have this conversation more because we talk about tactics, and if people dismiss them because they're easy to do. Like, I think tactics are easy to do. You can get the expected goals, the threat. We put the ball closer to the goal with less opponents, and you're more likely to score. Yeah. Right?
I always think this. Football's not changed.
It's not changed.
No.
Different players play it, different fitness levels, different strategies by a coach. I get that. Tactics exist, but sometimes tactics are not even what you do, it's how you do them. So getting the ball closer to the goal is an easy answer. How you do it is the tactic. So that could be how you control the momentum of an opponent coming towards you is deeper than playing 4-4-2, playing 4-2-3-1. The space is here. The game has always got space. It's just more or less. I was doing some research over the last couple of weeks around the final. Kings Meadow, when we last played Chelsea, to playing at Ashton Gate is around 452 square metres smaller. Right. Kings Meadow is. So there's going to be different spaces playing against Chelsea. So when you look at that, it's 5 metres longer and 1 metre wider. So you look at that gives you different pictures. So if you're as a coach, a non-educated coach, you don't realise that tactically you've got more space now, so you now need to find it a different way. It will look different to the game we played at Kings Meadow. And that's the detail you go into as a coach with experience rather than... So now I've got to think with my team how we exploit those spaces or how we defend those spaces better, because the game won't look the same. And that's where the psychology of thinking about it, I'm a deep, deep thinker. And that's sometimes, I talk too much, I know that.
No, you don't.
But
I love this chat though, I find it so interesting.
Well, I can't share it with many people because it's too much for them.
Yeah. But reading people's such a big thing, sorry Liam to interrupt you there. Like, I'm so interested in learning about people, reading them, and that gets you so far in life if you can do that.
I do. I think mine personally comes from insecurity. I think when I was younger, I was insecure around the world. I don't really understand the world in the same way as other people. And I don't necessarily do the same now. I see the game, for example, in space. I don't see it in just obstacles. I think I see it in behaviour and space. And not many people... tactics, honestly, I know all the formations and all the shapes and know when to put them in. But actually what I see more importantly is I can give you the same instruction and you do it differently. If I don't know that as a coach, I'm not doing my job. Mm-hmm. And I think when I go into there, you could do it the same for 2 months and then you've had something change in your life at home and all of a sudden we come back in and you can't do the same thing. If I expect the same thing, it's madness. And that's where the detail of my level of thinking goes in is, how do I get the best of you in this moment with the way you're feeling as a human, bringing it into football? It's fascinating.
Love that.
Football's, for me, it's all about moments, right? And it's managing those moments. It's providing your players with the best tools that you can provide them to manage those individual moments. And I think what you're getting at is, it might be that the role that you've given a specific player, it might not be something that's happened at home that changed it. It might be that by accident, they've done it somewhere else and had a better result. So that the next time that they come back in to try and achieve what you're asking them to do, they go about it in a different way. And I suppose your job, any coach's job, is to be able to provide players with new ways of thinking or different ways of doing things, or the freedom to... So when we had Tuni on the podcast, she was talking about how the biggest thing that she's got from you is the freedom to go out there and express herself, to try different things and not to feel under pressure if things don't go her way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it, isn't it? It's providing the right player with the right tool to manage the right moment at the right time.
Yeah, because every personality is completely different.
Absolutely.
That might not work for another player, but for her that does work.
Absolutely. And so let's take those two examples. Let's take Jess Park and Ella Toone. And not because people think they play similar positions, they're totally different players. And I think, so Jess was playing in a rigid structure that worked for that team. And we've allowed her some moments of freedom and better understanding of space to get the best out of her ability. That means when an opponent gets better at controlling the space she's in, we move the space. Now they've got to move their game, which they've not trained for. So it's always about trying to keep one step ahead, but while doing something that feels so natural to that player that they just perform it without thinking about it. We make common mistakes as coaches. If I want to introduce a new skill to somebody, just an adaptation, in season, it probably takes about 6 weeks of continuous practice. But what happens is they get worse at it first. So they think they're getting worse. So then you've introduced a negative input to a player during a season and it doesn't work. So I look at then Tooney and we talk about Tooney. Tooney's a genius, like a creative genius. But what I'd say to you is the biggest hurt I have on the other side of giving them freedom is that I will get criticised if it doesn't work. And that I'm willing to do for my players. I'm willing to take the criticism to allow them a space to play in. Because, I say this quite often and people don't want to say, we play football. It's an adjective. We play football. But if we do it like a business, like a robot, we're not playing anymore. It becomes work. And so for the creative minds, we have to stay. For the ones that need structure, the blue brains, for those that do psychological reporting, they need structure, they need organisation. And my job is to go into 23, 24 players and go, you need this, you need that. And I am honestly often exhausted when I go home because Laura speaks to me and goes, what happened today? And I go, yeah, I had a good day. I
can't really talk anymore.
It's really good. And she's the one I'd love to share with, but I just go, I have no more mental energy. And I found out a few years ago that I'm actually introverted as a person, but I can extrovert when I need to. Like these moments, I can extrovert, but it does. I have an emotional hangover the next day, which brings my energy lower, and I've got to manage that.
Can I handbrake Turners?
Handbrake us wherever you want.
Where's your FA Cup winners medal?
I gave it to my daughter, and it is in my drawer at home. I have not put anything up. I don't. It doesn't inspire me to just sit there and look at past success because I don't create future from it. One day I'll be really old and hopefully and look back on them and say, wow, but I need more, and I need more for our team. I need more. You're not going to change that in me. I know your eyes have just gone.
No.
You're not going to change it.
I was actually thinking that's it's quite a, given everything that we've just spoken about, it's quite a manager thing to do, because what you've done is you've given your daughter an FA Cup winners medal and gone, there's something to aspire to. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love it. And so Sadie's not really into football, in terms of wasn't, and now loves it. She loves Fallon, she loves Ziggy, anyone who says hello to her basically. But she loves Maya. She walked out with Maya last year, and she really loves, it's the human connection. She doesn't love the football, she doesn't know the football, but now she'll watch football because of Manchester United women. And that's
how it very often starts for children.
It's absolutely, isn't it? It's the fun.
They have a hero, yeah.
So the danger I have is turning that into too much professionalism. So if I take that fun away from our players, then, and you watch, and anyone will say this, we have the most unique environment where people love to turn up. We've got international returners, they'll come in and say, I've had messages, I can't wait to be back.
Yeah.
Because there's a space for you to be yourself here, while also knowing that we've got to win, we've got to do it this way. And I think that's what we try and create, is that
which says a
connection.
lot about you, that they have that reaction for coming into training.
I hope so. And again, and what I'd say is I allow them, what people don't always see, every decision that I allow, whether I choose it or not, I allow them to do that. Because I want people to feel, I've always felt that if you have a part and a a stock, you own some stock in the project, I think you give more to it rather than it be this coach, this person says everything, does everything. I know Sir Alex lent on all the people around him, especially the leaders in the dressing room, to run the team, and he selected the right moments to be a genius like he was to do. I'm not by any means comparing myself to Sir Alex. I'm just saying that some moments, that's why I'm sure he would have done what he did.
Yeah, and actually on that, how close are you with the backroom staff, and how important are they to you?
More important, more than ever, really. Honestly, we've had some really good coaches come and go, and I think what I've learned is to refresh yourself and reintroduce new ideas to the team. You have to keep that. Like you do players and we introduce new players, I think you have to do that with staff. And I think it'll challenge me, keeps me on my toes. Yeah. For me, I've moved more away from a head coaching role in this position into more management because it's what's needed at a club like Manchester United. And I've still got head coach mindset, but actually I think it's more about managing people getting the best out of them.
I'm going to give you, I know that this is going to make you uncomfortable. I'm going to give you a little bit more praise. I went in at the beginning of the season, did a couple of days with you lot. I have never experienced a culture like it. Walked into the building, everyone, you walk in, you put on the white jacket, you get looked at and you're just part of the team. There was never a question about that. It was just, welcome along, how can I help? What do you need? Can I make your life a little bit easier? Thanks very much for coming and doing this. Immediately part of the team. And I think being able to create a culture like that and that feeling when you walk into a department is a real credit to you and your coaching staff and everybody involved, because it's a special feeling, that.
And I appreciate that. I think, look, we lead with humility. I think we're the world's biggest club for a reason. We have to connect with our people, and our people are the fans and everybody that supports us. And so if we don't have that as players, where we'd walk past a fan and not say anything or not say, we're part of the same family, I don't agree with that. It's not part of my nature. And I think it's a big credit. What I'd like to say, if I was to leave tomorrow, I think we've built an incredible culture here and something I'm really proud of, because it's befitting of a club and a stature of a club our size. And I'm really, really proud of what the players do for that.
Yeah, and what Liam's saying there, that's not built overnight. You might have different players coming in and out, different backroom staff, but then you lean on your senior players to say, this is how we do it here. And in that respect, what would you say is a non-negotiable for you? What are the characteristics you try to instill in your players?
Yeah, when they come in, so obviously Maya's my captain, Tooney's the vice captain. One, they're really good people, but that everybody feels connected instantly. And that is, I'm going to pay attention to you, I'm going to listen to you. It's sometimes hard when you're rushing past each other every day and you've got a high important game at the end of the week. But I think it's hopefully the staff that are here as well will all see that when you step into the women's building, you're part of the culture instantly. And I've always been one where I will always give somebody respect instantly. It's theirs to lose rather than you have to gain it. And I think it's that bottom up kind of conversation first, where if you come into my environment, you think, you can have your own identity, like people like Malvine bring a brilliant identity, but she's humble and the humility shines through her at the base of that. I can't work with players that don't have a humility in work ethic, working hard. Everything I think somebody from Manchester or a Manchester United fan should have is that base root in, I'm going to work to get better. And I think that's the prerequisite to get into our team and into our culture. Is if you don't do that and it's all about you, you won't last long.
Which is probably why you have reached the highs that you've reached today. We should talk about the Champions League, which I know Liam has thoroughly enjoyed this season as well. Some great reactions on commentary. How much have you enjoyed being part of the competition? Well,
firstly, I love listening. I always listen to our highlights because I love hearing the excitement. It's way more exciting than some of the other channels. I've loved it. It's been a great challenge for me. I was prepared almost the flights and so on, because I'd been in America and it's almost like a Champions League, the flight path that you have to take. So the quick prep, the turnaround, I was used to that. But actually experiencing it with our team, and we've been almost impeccable during the run so far. And then we've creating these moments where, I see some of the fans after the games and, they're going to the Allianz, they've already booked their flights, they're already doing. And I think, I look at that. And again, it's creating memories. If I can create memories, there are memories we're creating for people that I probably will never even get to sharing, but it's their memories and it enriches their lives as they enrich ours. So I'm incredibly proud of the players, but I don't want to stop there. Like, we're in the quarterfinals now. It's we play a fantastic team, but we've got to give it everything.
This is interesting. You kind of promised the fans a bit of a European tour, didn't you? You come through the qualification phases and everybody's like, oh, brilliant, you've made the group phase for the first time. Then you play that first group phase game and the second one and the third one, and you think to yourself, oh, hang on a second, we're onto something special here. But all of that pales into insignificance to the Atletico tie for me, the one that we've just had, the first knockout phase game, where all of a sudden, and I think you've said it as well, anything's possible now.
Anything is possible. Anything. I mean, look, should we beat a fantastic Bayern Munich, we then play potentially Barcelona or Real Madrid. Again, another incredible, easy. So yeah, I mean, look, but that's what we're here for. That's what we are. The whole reason we enter as Manchester United as a women's team was to be at this level and to create those. I will never, ever forget. And I always say it was on ITV at the times, but the Champions League nights with the men, with the Roy Keane kind of moments and the final, for me, I've even got a pair of trainers, the Barcelona 99 Adidas collection that I will wear one time. Hopefully, if we can get to the Champions League final, I can wear them. But because you lean on those stories of the giants that have gone before you, and we weren't around as a women's team then, so we've got to create that for the next generation of female young players that want to come through, and the male, the lads that watch us. But we want to be that story. We want to be that. And look, we've got a long way to go. It's incredible that we're so young in our development, but we want to create that, because then I really do think you're creating memories for life and something everyone always talks about.
And on the European stage, it's different, isn't it? Sorry,
I was just going to say, and just a quick word to the fans, because in the depths of Sweden on the coldest nights, mid Scandinavia, there's 300-400 of them there shouting and screaming, and you've got to take your hat off and go, fantastic, because they back you to the hilt.
Always. They're the biggest part, and they often out-sing any opponent in their own backyard. And I look at that and I think that is really we talk about our secret sauce of our togetherness. Well, it's because they know they've got a fan base behind them that are just they're insatiable.
Yeah.
And they've gone, I was speaking to some of them a few weeks ago, and they're talking about going from Juve, where they're entrapped in almost what felt like a prison with cold pizza, to all the other experiences that they get. Atleti, where the knockout phase, we literally covered the end, and it was basically a home game. And those moments, for a team that's just experiencing it for the first time, they make it feel like it's natural, and they make it feel like you've been there before, so it's easier to psychologically do the things we need to do. So they make a huge difference. Again, we can't measure the impact of the fans until the COVID years, remember? And then there was nobody in the stands, and it just didn't feel right. It felt like the biggest part was missing the heartbeat. It came robotic. So I think that they deserve as much credit as any player, any staff member at Man United for what they do for us.
Have your family been able to enjoy those European trips, or a little bit young yet?
They're a little bit young, but we are looking at the potential of the Allianz away. They've been to one of the home venues, the games, but we are potentially looking at the Allianz to come and have a real away experience and see what it feels like. Because again, it creates memories for them, because they won't really remember. But it's cute because the little one, she sees anything. She sees a Fred the Red or a Man United crest, and she is daddy. So she associates me with Manchester United, which I think it's incredible. But yeah, it's those memories we're already creating, which I'm hoping we're doing for other people too, because I think it's something we really aspire to do as well.
Inside Carrington is presented by United Store. Shop all the latest drops of official club merchandise and product ranges only at United Store. 100% official, 100% United. Can we have a chat about the League Cup final?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
This has been an interesting competition, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, previously known as the Conti Cup or whatever it is. But Manchester United have never really achieved what they were capable of achieving in this competition until this season. Yeah. And it's not been straightforward. Like, the run of fixtures that you've had to get to this point have been really tough. The game against Spurs and then Arsenal and now on to Chelsea in the final. How excited are you by the journey to this point and by the potential of the weekend? Well,
I've always felt that this competition, it was always strange. I remember we played probably 2 or 3 seasons ago. We ended up playing Chelsea in a quarter-final. We got drawn straight after. And because we come through the group stages, we actually had yellow-carded players that couldn't play. Chelsea had entered at that stage, so couldn't gain yellow cards. So we actually complained to the league, and the rules changed the year after. So it's that kind of nature of this cup. But to come through a Tottenham challenge where, again, it was in the middle of a really heavy block of work for us, and then to come into the Arsenal game and win the way we won, I think was incredible from the team. And it brings us on to the final where, you know, we play the old foe Chelsea, and you know, I want us to really realise who we are in these moments, you know, like that there should be no regrets. And I'm really going to try and instill that this week in terms of how we go about our work on Sunday, because you play against us, I think we should make teams fear the way that we can play and the spirit we have.
I wonder whether coming away from the WSL fixture at Kingsmeadow, where I felt at the end of that game that United were hard done to, felt like that was a game that you probably should have gone on and got something out of. Can you use that as a little bit of fuel for your team going into Sunday? Talking
about the FA Cup one, absolutely. I think there's a Stonewall penalty in there.
Yeah, I agree.
And you can tell with the reaction of players, and that for me at that late stage, because I don't think people realise is that actually Chelsea had a real 5-day prep into us, and we'd come from a really high level game and come into that, and our players have been incredible in that block of work, and to come in and lose the way that we did, look, we need to be better in those moments, but I felt it was hard justice. But as I said earlier, you don't learn good lessons, I don't think, always in victory. I think in defeat you learn your harshest lessons, and they don't have to be sad lessons, but they have to be ones that wake you up. And I want to see us really show our maturity in this final. It will feel different. It won't feel like a Wembley final, but I want to see the best of us. I want to, the problem with psychology is you can never really know which moment you're at. You look for cues, but what I want to do for my players this week, and I want us to do for each other, is walk into that final knowing whatever problem Chelsea throw at us, we're going to attack it with the best of our ability. And if we can do that, we'll feel like we could be in the space to win that game and again create history.
What will the preparations look like for that game from Saturday onwards, for example?
Yeah, well, I think firstly, this part of the week, I think we have to get the right cues. We have to look at the things from the last game, but also recognise the spaces are going to be different. So we have to look at the balance point. I think we have to be clear in our language, clear in our expectations, not overcomplicate the situation. And then Saturday onwards will be much more about individual messaging. There'll be some disappointment because some players won't start, and that's the tough decisions of management. Because if you're a people person, you do affect people. But then I think it's about clarity and about you have to use the emotion and cage it, ready to pull it out when you need it in the game. But you can't let it rule you. And so there's a real moment of, this is what our expectation is. This is what we must do. Let's go in the game with clarity. And then, as I say, the first punch lands, and then you react to whatever happens. So educated people that have been experienced in it recognise that you can plan as much as you want. When you get into the game, you have to play it. And that's the beauty of it, because it's not already been done. So we have to see what happens and and be the best at adapting.
Do you think that letting players know they're not playing at the weekend is the toughest part of management?
Always. I said that all the time. I think often other managers say the same. I think for me, because what it says to them is that you don't value what I've done, when really it's not the case. There's a different challenge. So it's like which Allen key fits the lock at the moment? Which one is the one that unlocks the moment that we... And when your moment comes, can you be ready? Because it looks like I don't like your skill set, but actually I just need it a little bit later or a little bit earlier. And so you really do go into that level. What I try to do with my team is I try to communicate. If I feel that it's going to come as a shock to them, I always either do that in person, or the IDP coach that is closest to them will do that unless I need to do it. If it's someone that really needs my voice, I will do that early. And often, as I say, sometimes it's not your fault. I actually wrote down all the reasons why I may or may not select somebody, so that when in the emotional moment, I pick clarity. But more important in that moment, I just think people want to be heard. They don't agree with you.
Want honesty as well.
Yeah. They want honesty, and the honesty isn't always. It's not honesty. It's a contextual honesty. It's about what we think will work in the moment.
Yeah. I think players find it hard as well, don't they? Like, we all know that in your system, and we might talk about this a little more without giving away tactics for Sunday, there are starters and there are finishers.
Yeah.
There are players that are required to take the physicality out of the game.
Yeah.
To then give the platform for some of the other players to come off the bench and really make an impact.
Absolutely.
So you see that. I think Elizabeth Turlin's a really good example here. Terry will run and press and press. And what that does is it builds up this tension on a back four, which then when you make the change and Terry leaves the field and you bring somebody else on, be that Leah Schuler or whoever it might be, all of a sudden they've got something totally different to deal with. And that's what creates these openings, which is why we see your sides win games or put games out of sight late in the second half.
Absolutely.
And that must be quite difficult to communicate to players, that although you might not be starting this game, you're still going to play this crucial part in us potentially going on to win it.
And you can say it like that and they still don't believe you. Honestly, it's the hardest part of my role, because in my head, it's really clear. There's a fantastic, I actually have it, and I'm going to put it up on my wall in my office. There's a song that always kind of brings it home to me, because I kind of like messaging through music. And for me, it's Paloma Faith, and she did a song called "Do You Want the Truth or Something Beautiful?" And I think it's a fantastic metaphor for how you communicate to people, because they often tell me I want the truth, and when you give them the truth, they wanted something beautiful. And the beautiful is a small lie that keeps them still in tow of, but it's a white lie to keep their psychology in the space it needs to be in to perform. And so you can't always explain that to them. Like, I see you as a finishing moment in this game. I can see the game as it comes. And then you go down, somebody makes a mistake, and you're 1-0 down, and the game plan changes. That has to be in tow. But what we are, modern day players are becoming commercial entities too, even in the women's game. And men have dealt with this for so long. So there's a pressure from outside. I must play because of this. I've got to feed this. I've got to do. And I get it. I understand it. But the core is Manchester United. The whole sole reason we do this is for our fans. And I do think it's changing. Again, it's a great, maybe not for this podcast, but I think fans are following players now sometimes more than teams. I've seen it a lot when I was in America. There's a lot of basketball culture is they follow players around the teams and they support that team when their players at them. But I think we are a unique club where the club is such a strong identity. We support the team. But it's something... I am constantly doing research into better ways to communicate to players to try and keep... I need them here. But you know what? They'll never appreciate it. But sometimes a pulling back is like a projection forward slingshot. And sometimes you do it for that moment because they get angry and they perform better. But it doesn't last long. So you can't ride that for 3-4 games. You can only ride that for a moment. So again, another part of management.
You've talked there about a really difficult part of management. But what would you say is the best part of management?
Helping players develop developing players, making them see potential that they don't see themselves, seeing their lives, their little journeys themselves, watching them grow. You know, I look at people like, for example, Anna Sandberg, who had a tragedy at the start of the year, losing her mum. And I think the team being a space where she feels that she can come and find solace, I think gives you real fulfillment in your role. And I think just being here, watching her grow, letting her put her energy into something else, sharing her family life in with our family, those are the moments that mean the most. Again, probably the connection to the human is the biggest thing for me. Honestly, I don't always remember all of our results. I can remember, if you take me back to the game, I'll replay them in my head, so I'm a real visual learner. But it's more the feelings, and it's more the connection to the players, to the fans. So those are the things I think are the best parts of the job. Selecting teams is the worst part of the job. Well, telling players is the. I'll take losing games, but communicating to players is always hard, because you see that light diminish sometimes if your words are wrong, and the power of the response is in the communication. And that's our responsibility, but you get it wrong. Like, I'll hold my hands up, I get it wrong at times because I read it wrong. And then unfortunately that goes into your bank of memory for how to do it differently next time.
Marc, I know you are a busy man and you've got a busy week ahead. I suppose I just want to finish on something a bit philosophical. And there's obviously a big Manchester United sign behind you on the wall there. But what does that badge and this club mean to you?
I think it will forever be a part of my life where I feel like I've connected to something deeper than just a job. I think it's a spirit. I often talk about, when I first came in, I was like, how does my team play to really connect to the fans, to the spirit? And I try and plug into that energy. I think we have to work hard, we have to be humble, we have to have star quality, and more importantly, we have to attack, because that's the mantra of our team. And I think I believe that this is a real special club, one I'll never be part of again. I'll never find the connection to a team like I will at this special club. And look, it has its challenges. We have our challenges, but I think we're built on tragedy and ecstasy at this club. It has moments of ecstasy and moments of tragedy that build the spirit of you. And I feel that my spirit as a human has been built and plugged into something that I don't think words will ever really do justice. It's a connection to a mythical beast that will forever be told as, and we rewrite parts of that history. But I think it's mythical and something I'm very, very proud to be a part of, and will forever change my life.
Marc, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best of luck at
Thank you very
the
much.
weekend.
Keep up the good work. It's a fantastic series.
Thank you.
Thank you.